Okay. Hello guys, welcome back to another episode. This is episode 15 of It's a Man's World podcast. And today I have James, a Fit Pro Financial, who looks after everything that I absolutely hate doing on the business side of things. And I think it's such I think it's an episode that a lot of people are going to take so much value from. So I would take out a pen and paper and take some notes as we go, and then I will leave the Instagram handle, any information that you want to ask that I can't help with, I'll leave all of that below. But from a relationship standpoint and where we're at from business wise with Fit Coach Rossi and how we kind of moved over and how we know each other, it was literally just from connections, from word of mouth, wasn't it? Like through the online world at the minute, it's just crazy with the fitness industry. I actually seen Ben Bray was with Jules, and then a few other people, and then obviously Ryan was involved. So there was a few different things there that I was like, I needed help with. And when you're running a business and you don't have the knowledge to actually touch on those type of things, you dodge it. So if anyone is in that position right now, like, take this as a sign that you're actually doing yourself more harm, I think, than actually just getting it sorted. But I'd love you to just introduce yourself into who you are, where it all started, and yeah, just how everything kind of evolved over the last while.
No, perfect, Ciara. Thank you very much for having me here today, and hopefully I can give some value to the people listening to this. So I'm James Gibson. I'm the owner and founder of Fit Pro Financial. I started my training contracts. Well, I started business and accounting back at University of Ulster, Jordanstown, up in the north of Ireland. And I then progressed. I got a training contract for a professional chartered accountancy with Chartered Accountants Ireland. I done 3 years with a big firm in Ireland called ASM. I worked on from there, and I went into industry where I was actually helping, managers of departments and, directors and everything ensure that they were doing things in very efficient ways, making sure that costs were being saved and producing reports to make sure that everybody knew what the hell was going on in their business. I sort of thought to myself, the technology back then wasn't capable of providing that information in an efficient way. But with the likes of software like Sage Line 50, you've got Xero, you've got QuickBooks, there's any Zoho Books in Dubai. You've got any number of software now that can take a mirror image of the bank. So only with technology progressing have I been able to progress with it and actually produce this sort of information on a real-time basis. But I went from industry and actually implemented ERP systems, the financial side of them, and made sure that all that technology was ticking over and making sure that the books were correct. I then thought, well, why can't I come back into practice and give people that real-time information? Because back then, if you wanted to have this type of information that we provide to all our clients, you were talking, excess of 10,000, 20,000, a year in fees to produce that sort of information, and the practice to dedicate that much time. But with the new software, it's become much, much easier. So I set out with my father, who was an ex-audit partner in Grant Thornton, back when he retired December, was it 2020? I think it was 2020. And then we set up our practice. And eventually, obviously being in the bodybuilding scene for a number of years and having competed, a lot of fitness industry individuals started coming to me and asking, here, James, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And I noticed a bit of a niche there in the sense of it was no different. People always say they come to me because I specialize in the fitness industry, but it's actually a speciality of being able to problem solve and actually deal with consultancy style businesses, because that's effectively what the online coaching community is. Yeah. It's very low cost, efficient businesses. Your typical net profit percentage in Ireland and the UK for a business is 10%. Whereas we're looking at net profit percentage, for anybody who doesn't know it, is how effective are you at converting sales to profit? And because there's low costs involved, your sales minus your costs give you a profit. So how efficient are you at doing that? And I seen an opening to give people real-time information. I've noticed, and I noticed for years, everybody was always fixated on the top line. But the most important thing was profit, in my opinion. No point in doing $1 million in sales if you're only walking away with 100K in profit. Yeah. You could be 150K turnover in sales business and people are walking away with 80, 90,000 in profit. So there was an area there I seen, it was an area of weakness for the majority of the people, and they were fixated, and sales is the flashy thing that always gets thrown about in social media. But nobody talks about profit because a lot of people didn't know what their profit is. And profit's quite a personal thing. So not too many people want to be telling people what their profit is. Sales is nice and flashy to put up, but nobody knows what you're actually living off. So especially when you see these 10K lifestyle videos going up on social media, you need to understand it doesn't matter where you operate now. As you say, Ciara, we look after you that's in Dubai, and the tax efficiency there is very efficient. But the biggest problem in business is not taxes, because taxes can be planned for. It's mismanagement of cash. And that's what our main business structure and advice structure for people nowadays is cash flow management. How do you go from sales to what you need to extract through the jurisdiction? In America, we have clients, Australia, Dubai, Isle of Man, Ireland, to name a few. And the idea is to get a roadmap from sales to profit and extraction of said profit in a controlled manner, because we're all very good at just going, oh, I've done 10,000 in sales, I've spent £2,000 in business expenses, I'm going to go spend £8,000 this month. And it's about making sure that we understand money for now, money for later, and making sure that if you're in the same place in terms of savings accounts, investments, and everything that you are now in the next 5 years, I've already said this to you, I don't know how many times, Ciara, it's all about getting the checkpoint and saving those reserves towards your future. So we really just came into play to make sure that people had a roadmap and they had a skeletal structure of their business to go, where am I now? Where do I want to be? What happens if this business goes this way? What happens if it goes that way? And we can then manage that through data collection. It's no different than what a lot of the people on this will be actually doing for their own clients. How could you possibly train somebody for a photo shoot, for a competition, for a strength competition, a bodybuilding competition, if you don't have their data? How many steps are you doing? How many calories are you eating? What's the split of the calories? What many workouts are you doing? What's your workout frequency? How much are you recovering and resting? It's all that data, but we shy away from finances and money. But it's no different. Get it all in the one place. And that's the biggest bit of advice. Separation and segregation. So I always say, have your business over here, have your personal life over here, and there's a big black mark down the middle of the page. And you should have a structure behind this going to this at all point in time, so that you don't fall folly to a lot of the issues that we have seen in the industry, and not just the industry. My father seen what we were doing for people in the fitness industry, and he said, why are you not doing this for generic businesses, local businesses? And I was like, I didn't really think they'd be interested. And he's like, James, this is good. Anyone we show our service to, we had a call with an accountant last week, and he would be on the older spectrum. I think he studied in University of Ulster back in 1985. Wow. And when we showed him what we do, he said, it's very hard to impress him, but he was impressed by seeing the structure and the guidance that we give on the figures of the business. So in a nutshell, I started off, I didn't like the way things were done in practice, where it was that generic, here's a set of accounts, and you were paying for a tax calculator. Yeah. Everybody labels an accountant as this expensive tax calculator, but we've done that to ourselves as accountants. Yes, subject to the technology at the time, but most accountants are now progressing towards real-time information, and therefore a better service can be provided and more value can be added from your accountant, and should be being added. They shouldn't just be sitting calculating taxes with you, because, as I say, and you've heard me say it many a time, it's about looking, as a chartered accountant, I look at the assurance of a set of accounts. I look at the risk factor to a set of accounts. Are all your sales currently in Ireland? Well, what happens if Ireland's economy goes down? Are all your sales in the UK? What happens if the UK's economy goes down? You have the luxury of international presence. So you should be using that international presence to sales in America, sales in Dubai, sales in the UK, sales in Australia, sales in Europe, to make sure you're mitigating the risk of any economic fluctuations in those countries. Then another thing, as you quite rightly know, Ciara, you've got then subcontractors. How much of the business resides on your shoulders? If you're the only person providing your service in your business and you get sick or something happens, the business takes a hit, you take a hit. And do you know where the business is actually going? Does it have the reserves to cover you and let you take a week off? It's no different than I said earlier on a call. Not only if you take unwell, but how many listen to this podcast, go on holiday completely anxious? because they don't know if their business can survive them taking a week or 2 weeks off.
100%.
Whereas if you know what your sales are, you know what your expenses are, you know what your extraction is, you know what your company reserves are, your business reserves are, you can then plan to take downtime and actually recover. There's a big thing floated around the industry operating from a position of abundance or scarcity.
Yeah.
Now, sales do not provide abundance, in my opinion. What it provides a position of abundance is having a reserve sitting in your bank accounts for the eventuality if the business went to zero sales, that you could cover 6 months of business expenses, cover 6 months of extractions, cover the tax position, cover yourself up to a point that you know the business isn't going to solely rely on you waking up and doing sales at any given point in time. And that's when you have MRR coming into play and upfront sales and the argument behind that. And I do a combination of the two is always good.
There'd be a
baseline, yes. Like a baseline for MRR to cover your expenses, cover your personal extraction. Then what can be utilized for longevity is upfront sales.
Yeah.
So for our clients, we try to get a program in place where they know the baseline, the break-even point of your business is X. So you need to do X number of sales to cover your business expenses and cover your personal extraction. We then know that your price point is Y. You need X number of clients to cover your business from an overhead position and an extraction. And then you can do all the upfront. Say it's 30 clients and you need 25, but you put 30 in for having that buffer of 5 people. But you know, when you're looking at your KPIs and your business starts to drop below the 30, you need to maybe now start pushing MRR sales again, because you will always convert your upfront sales to MRR. So you don't need to just go solidly, I need to do MRR or upfront. It's a combination. It's putting you back in the driving seat, allowing you to make informed business decisions off the back of the data.
Yeah.
It's no different than somebody coming to you and saying, I'm not losing weight. Oh, why not losing weight? Give me what you've eaten for the past 2 to 3 weeks. You haven't been tracking your calories. Well, I haven't been tracking my calories. I haven't been tracking my diet.
Yeah.
Well, then how do I know how to change your diet if you haven't got it reported? It's the same with data analytics of finances. If we have all the data up to this point and you want to make a change in your business, or you want to go MRR, you want to go upfront sales, depending on what you want to do, here's the historical data, here's the change we're going to make, and let's see how the business progresses, or let's forecast how the business should progress, and then measure budget off actual.
Yes, I get you.
So I have waffled on slightly and gone off.
That's all right. I'm reminding myself of all of the things that coming back to where I literally started, when I literally thought that going up in your bank account was meaning that you were making more money, whereas I wasn't even looking at what was coming out. And I remember getting on, and I think you were asking questions about like, and what's this and what's that, and I genuinely was like, I don't know any of those answers. And then I remember my brother, like, he's very into his numbers and he's the business head, and he was like, Ciara, like, you have to know them things. And I used to be like, no, like, I wouldn't have even wanted to touch on that like that, just because I think it was more the ignorance of not knowing, like, not one.
It's quite daunting when you, like, because you don't know it. We're not educated on this in any education system that I know of in the world, especially in the UK. They'd rather teach us how to play the recorder than actually budget for our monthly cash. You know, it's shocking that we're not educated in this thing, because to be frank, even employed people could learn a lot from this podcast about, here's the money that's coming in. Like, and we do it with our customers now, where sales to extraction. Well, how do I get this? Well, if we know that you've got a business and you're living with your parents, or you have very low costs, what we do for customers is, right, let's build your personal budget right now. You don't pay anything in rent, you don't pay anything in cars, you don't do this, you don't do that. So your current budget is you need £1,000 a month out of your company. Your business is doing 10K plus a month or 5K plus a month. But we need to build a future budget for when you move or you do something, to be able to go, right, rent will be this, or in and around. Does the business facilitate top line to bottom line what you need it to do? And then the luxury comes into play, as you well know. Right, this now facilitates this, but it also facilitates this as your life. And up here is your retirement when you want to retire. What you're earning here has to facilitate that. And that was always my goal when I set out in business. Here's my lifespan. Here's retirement. this is the first box I tick off, because as my financial advisor said to me when they estimated the age upon death to be 100 years old, and I looked at him and I goes, I'm not going to be 100. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm not going to see 100. And his comment back to me was as cold as, what if you do and you've no money?
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, it
That
sort
was
of
it.
put a wee grain into my head. And I was like, you know what? He's right. So
Yeah.
why not plan to live to a certain age, obviously,
Mhm.
and make sure that that's ticked off. I like going to bed now knowing that if my business collapsed through the floor tomorrow, that I have my retirement well on track, more so than an employed person would to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But we earn, if the average working life cycle is 30 years and somebody can make 3 million over those 30 years, anyone watching this that's in the fitness industry will understand you could make 3 million in 5 to 10 years. So we need to be smart with the money and not just go buy the Lamborghini, McLaren, Rolex watches and all this carry on. Why not tick off one of the most important things first? Why not tick off the safety nets, the general investment accounts, the property investments, and make sure, one, it's all being done in a very tax efficient way, because pensions in any country is a very tax efficient way to save company profits or business profits into your future retirement. Because the reasoning behind it is the governments don't want to look after you in retirement. And if you got no money when you're retired, the government will have to step in and help you. So they want to give you incentive to invest into your future. So in Ireland, in the UK, and various other countries, they will have tax efficiencies to do that, because it's a business. The government is a business. The Inland Revenue in the Republic is a business. The UK HMRC is a business, and they don't want to have to use tax money to pay for you in the future. So anytime you're thinking of your government, think of them running it like a business. Why am I getting that tax efficiency?
Yeah.
So it's about thinking long-term and long-term shareholder wealth. You are the sole owners of your businesses.
Yeah.
And therefore, future Ciara and future James would be very annoyed at 30-year-old us for buying expensive, lavish stuff and not facilitating. You have to remember compound interest of the S&P 500 investments. The money that you're putting in down here has an exponential growth. And Ryan Moore, who we both know, shares a lot of information, guys. If you want to look at, financial advisory stuff, Ryan Moore, the wealth coach, very, very good. And he put up a post recently there that was the risk of investing in stock markets. 0 to 5 years, 0 to 1 years. There's like 99% risk, because if you put your money in and try to take it out too quickly, you're going to be investing in something quite volatile like crypto, maybe, to try to make a quick buck, but you could lose it all very quickly. Then 0 to 1 to 5 years, the risk came down. 5 to 10, risk came down. Anything over 25 years, it's pretty much, it's not no risk, but there's very little risk, because the markets, no matter if the property crashed back in 2008, the markets are now higher than they were in 2008. So it's always long-term going to be your best bet.
Yeah.
And it's just about getting that oversight of where's the business at and how do we get from and tick the boxes, so to speak. Brian used a very good term, the checkpoints of a game, so to speak. Why not treat it like a game, which a lot of us do, and go, right, I've got this target, I need to tick it off. I've got this target, I need to tick it off. And as long as you're being smart with your money, taxes can be budgeted for, expenses can be budgeted for.
Yeah.
We built with a customer recently, they're in Dubai, and he'd moved from the UK, didn't really like the tax system in the UK, but moved because he wanted the lifestyle and everything in the UK. And what was now biting him was the annual costs of rent and the annual costs of gym memberships and everything coming in out of the blue, no different than the tax system coming in out of the blue and taking money. So a perfect scenario here is, here's your weekly costs, here's your annual costs, and here's your monthly costs in the middle. Take your annual costs, divide them by 12, bring them into your monthly. So you'll know how much you need to set aside.
Okay.
Your weekly costs, like your food shop, your fuel, your enjoyment on a weekly basis that you budget for, multiply those by 52 weeks, divide them by 12, brings it into your monthly budget. So you've got weekly, monthly, annually, but we run our reports on a monthly basis. And any P&Ls really looked at on a monthly basis. So you'll see sales and your total requirement to run year on year, not just month to month, because things can catch you out, like annual insurances for your home, your car insurance, your holidays. We had a call last week with a gentleman that thought his finances, his personal finances were down to a T. But he neglected to budget for the tax extraction within the UK for said budget. So he needed £2,400 in his hand. But what he didn't account for was the fact to get £2,400 in his hand, he had to add money into the extraction to set aside for the tax man. Because whatever you're doing here, you pay your taxes over here.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with every tax system in the world. Your actions here don't have an impact here, they have an impact down here. So by budgeting correctly on a monthly basis for every action you do, you will then tick it off and make sure that that then just goes against that. So people like to blame the tax system, but the tax system is quite a beautiful thing because it can be calculated.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people are afraid of. They run because they're like, I'm not going near an accountant, I'm not dealing with that. Or they'll sign up with an accountant and the accountant won't tell them everything that you're going through here. And why is that? Like, because obviously from an outsider or client's point of view, like I think sometimes you like to hand it over and say, just take the lead, we don't want to know. Whereas like, why would you not want to know what's coming into your business? Why do you not want to know what profit you're making? Why are you not working towards your future life that you want to live? And it's like, it nearly is because people have the fear of knowing what it is or what it's going to cost. And you don't want to know. People want all the money, and that's not how it works.
Honestly, like I think accountants have, because of the lack of technology, you know, if somebody came to me a decade ago and said, here, James, I wouldn't have created our structure and our service a decade ago because it wasn't possible a decade ago.
Yeah.
So I do think my industry from a professional standpoint is playing catch up.
Yeah.
You know, and they've been used to doing the old way of doing things. And you think about it for big practices, really, really big practices, normally they have financial departments, they have accountants, they have bookkeepers, they have credit control managers, accounts payable clerks. They have finance managers, they have, you know, financial directors, they have CFOs, you know, and for big businesses, they have that internal structure there. But there wasn't the ability, you're talking 70K plus for an FD, you're talking 50K plus for a finance manager, you're talking 30K plus for a credit control manager, very costly service. Okay. So if a practice was set up, you know, I still remember years ago, a friend of mine said, oh, you want to average about £250 per client. And that was the going rate in his local area per year per customer. And I was like, you aren't adding value. And only by adding value can you hope to then charge more. Because as I said earlier at the start of this call, people don't want to pay a tax calculator.
Yeah, no, they don't.
No. Yeah. I remember a job I was in and I was classified as an unnecessary expense by the FD. Because the FD, I loved the directors of the company that he was referring to, got on really well with them. But he had a negative mindset on our industry, even though he was a financial director. And he was like, the bosses don't want to pay you, you're a necessary evil. And I was like, no, you're narrow-minded. What I'm going to produce for them is efficiencies, reports, everything, because they had software back then that is comparable to Xero now, but Xero is much more user-friendly. Yeah. I was able to produce reports and give them actual value, you know, instead of here's your books, here's the wages, here's the payroll, just generic compliance stuff. It's about, you know, yourselves. It's no different than what you guys do. Yeah. Here's a diet, see you later. No, I'm going to hold you accountable. You're going to stick to it. If you can't stick to it, I'm going to work out the problems why you can't stick to this. Yeah.
If you don't understand something, we're going to all get on. We've got group calls. You're giving people back value, because I think the more you understand, the more intrigued you are to know, okay, right, well, this is what I need to do. Or you are a little bit more mindful. And also as well, like you were saying about like the lifestyle that you want to live. Like, what if you want to live a bigger lifestyle? Well, then actually what you want to live doesn't add up to what's coming in. So you're living out of your means. And that's what a lot of people do, isn't it? Like they go on these holidays and they can't afford it and they come back with absolutely nothing. And that's where you talk about cash management. Like that was something that I wanted to touch on. And like what you kind of say, if it wasn't a business person from a normal perspective of someone that's working for someone, how is cash management so poor? And like, why is that such a big thing?
It's when you buy something, this comes in, and this is where Ciara and me touch very in depth in TMP.
Yeah.
Money has such an effect on people's mind, because you think during nature, you know, what attracts people nowadays is security. What gives security on this planet, and has done for the past 100, 200 years, if not longer? Money. You know, to put the roof over your head, and the roof needs to be nice. And then the next amount of money can get you the nicer roof over your head and the nicer car to get you from A to B. And it makes you feel good when people see you wearing the Rolex watch or the Gucci handbag or the driving in the Ferrari. But you need to educate yourself on the fact of it's about not enjoying yourself, but not enjoying yourself now at the detriment to you in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
As you and I both know, I'm a big advocate of investing now while the business is thriving, rather than thinking, oh, the sun's shining, I'm going to harvest hay and I'm not going to give two shits about it. You know, because if you don't store the hay for the future, whenever the drought or something might come in, you're then going to be very, very unhappy with your decisions that you've made. And the problem is, a lot of people wait until they're on the downward trend to seek a service like ours. Now, thankfully, there's a lot of people that are switched on enough to understand that while you harvest hay, you can make better business decisions rather than being reactive. The business has done that for 4 or 5 years, and then you're coming down here and you're coming to us out of a panic because you haven't set taxes to the side. You've been poor with your cash management. There's been many a time we've sort of looked at businesses and gone, you're earning that per month, and this is all you have sitting in savings, which means there's been very poor decisions made off the back of it. So it's like, I'm unapologetic nowadays. Back, 2 years ago, whenever I was saying this, I was like, well, I'm going to offend somebody. I'm really going to offend somebody. No. But I nearly feel like I just need to show a mirror up and go, this is the scenario. And because we have all the data, if somebody comes to me and I can go, sometimes it's a beautiful scenario where somebody has panicked about their finances and panicked because they haven't had clarity over the numbers. They've thought that, oh, I'm not doing enough in sales. I'm not doing enough in sales because I'm being told I need to do 10K. And then when I hit 10K, I need to do 20 and I need to do 30 and I need to do 40. And as I said to you earlier before we started the podcast, a lot of people then become naive to the efficiency of the business, because they think if I'm doing big sales, I must be doing big profit. And if I'm doing big profit, then I must be doing okay for myself. But in actual fact, the void that we normally see is, because of the type of industry we're in, there's a black hole. And normally when we look at it, it's personal expenditure is the black hole. Why have I got no money? We set up salary style structures. Yes, you can pay yourself whatever you want in a UK situation and a Irish situation via dividends and salary tax efficiencies. But what we do is, here's the border, here's the business, here's the personal. We had a scenario with a lovely lady that didn't take her agreed extraction based off sales, expenses, tax position, and this is your agreed extraction, like £3,500 per month. Why did you not take that last month? Oh, I didn't need it. I was like, right, you've passed the interview process for FitPro Financial. If you want to come work for me and you don't need your salary at the end of the month, I'll not pay you. Yeah. So this is where you need to definitively segregate your company from your mind and treat it almost like somebody else is in ownership of it. Yeah. And you set the salary, and it means you can budget. And as you asked earlier, okay, why are people so bad at it? It's lack of knowledge around it. We see so many times, like I get people coming to me that are employed people and they're like, oh, I've got a load of debt here and I just don't know how to manage the cash of it and manage the cash flow. And it's like, right, well, what happened here? There's bound to be a point in time that you've took the loan out to pay for something, and then you haven't reduced your budget down to say, right, £150 needs to go against that loan per month. And people just don't set up personal budgets. Yeah. It's as simple as I went back to weekly, annually, monthly. Yeah. The problem is people don't look at this one, and then they take out a credit card to pay for the insurance, and then they don't realize that they have to budget and pay off the insurance payment over a period of time. Yeah. And then the credit card debt and the interest and all starts accumulating. As I said about that gentleman earlier, he wanted to go on holiday, and I said, right, we'll start budgeting for your holiday now. And he says, I don't need to go till next year. And I was like, but would it not be nice to know that you have to take out £200 per month up until June 2025, and you've 2,500 sitting for your holiday next summer? Oh, that makes perfect sense. Very, very intelligent person. But he was just going to, because he wasn't going to go on holiday till summer 2025, he thought he was just going to, not budget for it now and then just take it out of the company bank account this time next year.
Yes, I get you.
And he came back with, but I don't know what it would cost. And I was like, well, if it costs £2,000, you've saved 2,400. If it costs £3,000, you've saved 2,400, and you only need to take 600 out over and above out of your company this time next year. Set the budgets in place just to go, and it's so easy when you get it. It's no different than training and dieting and looking after yourself. As soon as you start habit forming, it becomes natural. We are very gifted as accountants in this office to have naturally formed this habit. But it's no different than Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates that naturally were able to talk, know their bodies, know what they needed to do to put muscle on. Or it's no different than the next person to you that looks like they can diet so easy for a bodybuilding show just because it comes natural. There's things in this planet become natural to people. Money management comes natural to us. It doesn't come natural to a lot of people, and then you shy away from it because it's the hush-hush subject. Don't talk about it. You don't talk to even your family members about it.
You don't even bring it up, especially as Irish people as well. Like, don't even bring up money. And like, I think as well, when you say about putting into investments and being smart with your money and like thinking of the future and this end over here all the time, like, is there a big difference between self-investment into something that's going to benefit your life, your health, because then does your life and your mindset and everything not move in the right direction? Or do you disagree? Because I've been having this debate with, say, for example, if I'm on a sales call and someone's like, no, I have that money sitting there in the credit union, but like, I'm not going to take it out. Like, what's your opinion there now? So you can say what you want for this one.
It's one of those things. It's like, we obviously have business mentors, we have online coaches and everything. I think investing in your health is one of the best things you can do, in that terms. But it's investing, if you know that you're going to dedicate £1,000 a month to investments for your business, or you're going to dedicate £1,000 a month for your future retirement fund, and somebody comes in and can legitimately show you, look here, we're going to take your business from X amount per month and we're going to add that to there. It's the mathematics you need to do behind it. I had a message from a gentleman earlier there that says he's going to invest in the business mentor. And I said, right, let me plug the initial investment in, the monthly cost in, and we'll see where the business needs to get to ensure that we don't eat into our profit margins. So bare minimum, break even on that investment. And then he knows he's got a target in his head that by investing in that, he wants to see his sales conversion. He wants to convert an extra 4 clients a month just to cover that cost. And therefore, he needs to convert 8 clients to double the return on that investment. In terms of health is wealth, in my opinion, I'm a type 1 diabetic, so maximizing my life expectancy is top priority for me. Now, I know that's easy to say, but it's also a healthy balance between working hard, playing hard, and investing for your future. Like, I'm in here 12+ hour days now, and have been for the past 2 years, and everybody's like, oh, you need to slow down, and I'm like, but I'm healthy, I'm happy, I love what I do, whereas people don't see it as normal. If anything, back whenever the online consultancy community formed, it was work less hours and earn more money. Yourself, that just doesn't happen.
That is bullshit. I'm sorry, I have to admit, it doesn't work like that. Like, it's like you have to work the hours, and you can do that down the line when you'll be able to step back a little bit. But like, when you love it, it doesn't feel like, oh my God, 10 to 12 hours. Some days, yeah, you do be dead and you're exhausted, but like, it's passion, and that's why you just keep going with it. And I think that's why people find, oh my God, that's a very long day, isn't it? It's like, it's a very long day if you don't love what you do.
Yeah, very long day to sit on the sofa, though. Yourself, like, nobody listening to this podcast that's involved in the fitness industry, they used to look at me whenever I was in practice, and I used to go to the gym every single evening after I left work, and they were like, I don't know how you do that. And I was like, I've used my mind in here all day long. I need to go and deload my mind in the gym and work my physical body. I couldn't go home and sit on the sofa like a couch potato. You know, it's just not in me, and it's not in a lot of the people that will be listening to this. And the same comes, you're proactive with your health. There's maybe a reason that you've got involved in this, health scares or overweight or underweight or not confident. And you've been proactive about that. And if you're listening to this, you need to be proactive with your money management. Put a plan in place first and foremost.
Please.
Hold yourself accountable to the plan.
Yeah.
Know what you're going to take out of your business on a monthly basis. Know what your sales are supposed to be. Know what your profit's supposed to be. And that's where our type of service comes into play.
Yeah, and I would definitely be lost without that and all the education along the way, especially even if it's like every 2 months or whatever, getting on when I'm like, right, okay, or where did this come from? And then I didn't take the money out and I didn't put it into this. And I'm just like, I'm not running it like the way it should be, like a business. And I'm not even not treating myself, but I'm not giving myself any credit. It's just like, oh, it's building up there. It's like, that's not how it works. And that was just all learning for me as well. And that's obviously been a godsend, because now I know the numbers in my head of where we have to get to. And it makes everything move a lot quicker as well, because you know, this is where I need to get to. All right, we're not on point. What do we need to do? Then you can go back to the team. They know the numbers to an extent, but they don't know the exact sprint that you're going towards. So I think that's really important. But something that just came to my head there, it wasn't on script or anything like that we were going to talk about, but mortgages and stuff like that seem to be, why is it that they literally look at every single thing that you are spending and they say no if you spend something? Like, I just don't get that. If you can still put the money to the side, I haven't got a clue about it, but I just feel like from a lot of clients and people that have, even new ladies that have been coming onto the call, they're like, oh, we're applying for a mortgage and you're not allowed to spend anything. And I'm like, what? For how long and why? And can you just give people a little summary, because there's probably younger people as well in the same position that don't really know, like, why would you need to have to think like that? Why do you have to do those steps?
It's one of those mismanagement things, and it's mismanagement of information. As I say, we're professional chartered accountants that deal with cash flow management. We're not financial advisors that tell you to put your money in gold. We can show you the tax efficiencies of general investment accounts, pensions, ISAs, property, and do the tax planning for all that. But I'll never sit in front of somebody and say, invest in gold or anything. When it comes to mortgages, mortgage advisors are definitely more clued on. But I think of everything as a business. If a bank is going to lend you money, they have triggers. So straight away, if they see gambling on your bank account, they are going to have slight increased risk associated with you as an individual. Because they don't know if you've got an actual addiction or it's going to form into an addiction. And unfortunately, addiction is a toxic thing, and it feels very bad for people to get into that situation. But you will end up potentially defaulting on one of your loans if you are in an addicted personality when it comes to betting. So one of the first things that they say is, do not have, gambling on your bank statement. When they say don't spend, in fact, to increase your credit rating, you actually need to show the fact, if you go to a bank at 20 years old and you got a lot of money sitting in front of you, you've never had a loan, you've never had a credit card, you've never paid car finance, you've never shown the ability of borrowing money and paying it back. That doesn't look good on a credit report, because there's no historical evidence of you having borrowed and paid it back. So that's why a lot of people's credit ratings are not that good. You could have people that have, been very, very wealthy or handled a lot of money, and that's the potential problem. So actually utilizing and plugging yourself into the system, so to speak. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take this as financial advice. But back whenever I was naturally very good at looking at those sorts of things as a young man. And one of the first things I done when I started earning money was I got a credit card. And I started putting my weekly fuel bill on my credit card and paying it back every single month in full, because I knew the money was sitting in my personal account. And if I paid it with my debit card, I was going to do that. But I showed the ability of using a credit card to, buy things, borrow the money and pay it back, and showed that credit rating and increased my credit rating. In terms of not spending any money, it's normally not that as strict as that, but they want to see that you have the ability to budget and therefore be able to budget a loan. So if they see sporadic spending, they don't like it. If they go, like, flannels is a big thing in the UK. And you know, if they see random £1,000 here, £2,000 there, they will put an additional risk factor on said individual potentially. Now, again, I'm not in the background, I'm not the actuary in the background formulating the risk factors or anything like that. But as long as you can show that you're level-headed when it comes to your spending, it's not you can't spend, you just normally they would rather see it in a structured manner.
Okay, right. And would it matter if it was from both accounts, if someone's cut like together, or is it the same thing? They just view it as the same?
So they look at it as affordability. So if there was two people coming together and you were looking to buy a house, again, if you're going for a joint mortgage, if this person's getting involved and this person has a perfect credit score and shows everything sitting perfect, but you insert somebody that has gambling and all sorts of different things going on in their account, they will, it's like the rules are set up, laws are set up to stop the worst in society.
Yeah.
Same situation, they're going to have to look at the worst case and go, well, if he can't afford it, you know, they'll maybe look at this one and go, well, if he can't afford it, he's jointly can't afford it. Only way to get around that would be if they could afford it by themselves. Okay, and therefore they mightn't look at that one. Oh, you've got a spare budget of £2,000 a month. The total mortgage payment is £1,000 a month and you've agreed £500 each as a joint payment. Again, I don't really know what's going on, but that's my theory behind the number crunching in the background when they're looking at these sorts of things.
Yeah, because I was just that just came to my head there when I was thinking of it, as to kind of what that is. But obviously it makes sense when you put it into perspective. Like at the end of the day, you're not going to give someone €1,000,000 if they have zero in their account or whatever, if they've never paid back before. It makes sense. But what's different from what you do in comparison to other financial pros?
So as you know fine rightly, we operate worldwide now. It's a very blessed thing. You know, over 3 years ago, I never dreamt in a million years. I thought it was just going to be, you know, people within a 5-mile radius of my house. But because we deal with people internationally, we don't know the taxes in America, Australia, Europe, Dubai. We do because we've clued ourselves in a lot there. But what we do is the cash management, the overview of a business, you know, the cash flow forecasting, making sure that you have a target here. There's no point in running business with a blindfold on, in my opinion. It's about actually going and go, you know, imagine somebody put a dartboard up in front of you and said, right, throw the darts at that dartboard. They put a blindfold on you and they turn you around 3 times and they move you about the room. You don't even know if you're going to hit the dartboard or not. So it's about giving, here's what's going on in your business. What do you want from it? Do you want a better lifestyle? As you said earlier, if somebody is living excessively when we generate their first report, straight away we can go, right, if you want to continue this sort of lifestyle, this is the level of profit you need to do. We retrofit it back up. This is the profit based on the business expenses that you say are not going to change or they're actually going to increase. This is the sales figure that you require. It's not just a, here, do 10K because it's cool, do 20K because it's even cooler, do 30K because it's amazing. It's what do you need from your business? Then the 10K and the 20K and the 30K months mean that period of investment to make sure that you're covering this. The way I view my stuff, and this is, you know, fine rightly, I say to every client we have, whatever I'm doing in my business, I will share it with my client base. If this is my retirement up here and it takes me to here to save, and I've got a period of time here that I can work and not have to worry about saving for my retirement. My idea is, here's retirement age. I can either reduce that down or I can reduce the investment need for it so that I will be working at some stage where I don't even have to give my retirement fund a second thought.
Yes.
And that I work for me and not future me. And that's the first box, in my opinion, that I tick. Don't get me wrong, I've made the bloody mistakes back when I first started business, and I've bought the cars and I've bought the designer shoes and thought this is great, this is going to last a lifetime. And then a sudden realization came into me where I was like, what if it doesn't? I'm not a negative person, but my big fear is, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't do what it's doing right now for 30 or 40 years? Why not try to hedge your bets, so to speak, and make sure that you've got all your targets ticked off in the first 10 years of business? Retirement pot, investment pot, passive income stream that covers all your personal expenditure. and then you work for pure fun. Because we all got in this at the start. I had a conversation with a gentleman within the past 3 weeks. He first started business. 3K a month is all he wanted, all he could dream of, because that's what his job was paying him historically. And he was like, I did that. And then I got 5K per month. I did that. Now I'm doing over 10K per month, and it feels no bloody different. If anything, I have more anxiety because I'm afraid of falling off the mountain, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have an overview. So what do we do that other accountants don't necessarily do? I can't say they don't do it from a professional standpoint. I don't know if they do it or not, but I find what we do very unique. And it's giving you control back of your business to know this is the company's money, this is my money, this is what I need to take out to survive on a monthly basis based off the parameters that we've discussed. This is what I need to do in sales based off the expenses. And it gives a roadmap of the business, rather than just fixating ourselves on sales.
Yeah. And I like to think of it, when you explained to me before the first time, I like to think of it like a timeline. So it's like I'm under the timeline so small and everything's above me. And then I'm like, right, well, where am I right now? What do I need to do? How do I get there? Right, well, this is what you need to be doing. And then I know crystal clear in my head, because like at the end of the day, like mentors are amazing. They're to drive sales, they're to do this, do that. But sometimes when it all comes, like what I did for myself when it came, I just didn't know what to even do with it. That I was like, you can spend this, you can do what you want. Then when you take on staff, you're like, right, okay, you're actually not making that amount of money. That's your stripe going up actually means nothing. So it's like there's so many different factors that come into it. But do you guys work with, is it just business, or is it person, like for people that are employed as well, or no?
See, like I would start getting into really financial advisory territory. I would say we'd probably not be allowed to actually sit. I could sit and actually do a consult with somebody and go, look, let's build your budget. But it's as simple as selling a template. We have a budgeting template on our Instagram. And we're going to refine it and redo it again. I just probably need to cancel the link, because obviously as time progresses, we get. I'm a great believer in trying to make something that seems complicated to people as simple as possible to people. So I like people to walk away from a conversation with me feeling enlightened, not bamboozled.
Yes.
I do remember an ex employer of mine and said to me, your job is not to educate my clients, because I was deemed to be spending too much time with the clients, even though my title was client manager. And I was just like, no. I want to educate people because it makes my life a hell of a lot easier as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It makes your job easier, because you know what it's like when, I'm sure when we're all coming in and it's like we haven't really got a clue at the start and there's a million and one questions. It's like when a client signs up and they're just being given the program, they're like, what's this exercise? What's that? What's a macro? What's this? And you're like, whoa. Whereas if it's
let's take it in chunks.
Yeah, if it's explained and broken down and you understand something, it's a lot easier to follow, and it's a lot easier to understand and know what you're doing.
Now, as back to your initial question about helping people that are employed, I'd be more than happy to have an unofficial, chat with somebody if they were like, oh, I'm up to my eyes in debt and everything. But there is specific services out there, like insolvency practitioners and everything. Now, an insolvency practitioner would take all your debts and consolidate them or get rid of them type thing. We don't do that. That's a specific service in chartered accountancy that you need to be qualified to do. But in terms of setting budgets for people on a personal level, we just like to know what we expect the extraction requirement from this business. We're not going to, tell you that, oh, you should pay this amount off your loan or do that, or you should take this loan out to cover this historical debt or anything, because that is financial advisory territory.
Yeah.
We just help with budgets and cash flow management.
Yeah, which is the most, I think that's the most exciting part now. Like having a budget, and it's like a target or a goal, where you're running towards, just running through a field and saying, where am I going to get to? It's like putting on a map and not knowing where you're going. It's like just.
Well, it's a bit like a client coming to you, Ciara, and going, here, I want to lose weight. And you're like, well, what weight do you want to lose? And you're like, I'm just like, I just want to lose weight. And you're like, but can we set a target, please, to make sure? It's no different than going to your accountant. But accountants don't offer, most accountants don't offer what we offer. So when you get on a call with me, half the time it's always, I wasn't expecting that from an accountancy call. And I think we do need to rebrand ourselves, because we've evolved so much more than your typical accountancy and tax consultants. It's business management.
Yeah, and I think that you should definitely do that, because your message, like say on Instagram, people would really like, especially running businesses, like they don't know about all of this. And it's so easily explained, and like you're just guided so well through the process. And like that is like something that I need monthly, like on your end. I'm like, no, I'll be here
But
forever.
it's one of those things. I believe business mentors, as they're labeled on social media. Like, we have an acquaintance that we both know really, really well. I believe he is a sales mentor and an operational mentor and a business mentor.
Yeah.
But within that, on your board of directors, like I used to sit on and sit as my to the FD and have all the notes done and everything for him. You have to have a sales director. You have to have an operations director. You have to have the CEO, who's you guys sitting, and then you have to have the FD, and you also have to have the financial advisor. And all of these people should be working and making you more informed of your business. You have to realize the consultancy industry of fitness is exponential profit. You know, I have construction businesses, engineering businesses that I've worked with that are doing $1 million plus in sales, and everybody's like, oh, $1 million in sales. But their costs, they have to buy steel, they have to employ people, they have to do so much to get a finished product. Whereas, you know yourself, it's a laptop and it's knowledge to make sure. And $1 million turnover business might be doing 10% profit margins of 100,000, whereas a consultancy online fitness business is maybe doing 100, 150 and walking away with 75% net profit percentage.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure that we maximize that money for long term.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And it's crazy what all we need is basically the laptop, the community, and then yourself, and to get someone the result. That's the power of social media at the minute. You know,
Very much so.
big time. But I absolutely love that. That has literally, like, I've just been taking that all in myself and thinking about where I started and where it kind of was for me, that I was like, I don't need an accountant, I can do it on myself. Like, the money's going up, and then when you start hiring and when you start delegating a little bit more, and you do need people that are 10 steps ahead of you, and people that don't actually, people from different sectors to help you, because this is something that I don't know, this is something I've been never taught. So like, for the questions that come across for myself even today, I've actually just kind of reevaluated a few things in my head for myself. So thank you for that. I definitely think that there's going to be probably a lot of questions. I will just direct everyone over to your Instagram, and guys, that's where you can find James, and then you can pop any questions, and then I'm sure there's a consult or an application link and stuff. Is there?
There's an application link within the Instagram. It's quite scarce at the minute, because we're just like, literally, my biggest goal was always to facilitate the people that entrust me to do this. It's not to grow a 200, 300, 400, 500 people practice.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to just work very hands-on with people and make sure that I'd walk down the street and I find out that Ciara Rossi's doing X, Y, and Z in Mallorca or in Miami or back in Dubai or back in Ireland driving her Bugatti. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always, as an accountant, didn't want to have my hands on people's money type thing, their bank accounts.
Okay.
And then maybe savvy with my money. And then when I'm 60 years old, see an ex-client of mine walking down the street and they haven't been smart with their money, and I haven't given them the power to be smart with their money by giving them the knowledge, and me have to hold my head away from them because I know that they don't even own their home, or they're struggling or something like that. That was the biggest part of why I set up this service, was to try to educate people. And off the back of that, we educated ourselves to provide such a structured service.
And look what's after happening. It comes back to you because you love what you do. You love to educate. Passion wins all the time. I don't care what anyone says. If you love what you do and you're making an impact on someone's life and you're helping in some way, it always comes back to you. For sure.
Agree.
Definitely. But guys, I will leave the Instagram handle below. Any questions at all, thank you so much for that. It has refreshed my brain. I'll be booking it next week.
I was going to say, after this call, you're going to be booking in straight away, aren't you?
But thank you so much for coming on. And guys, I hope that this has helped in any way or form. And then if there's any questions, you can pop myself or James a message at any time. But thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks, James.
Thank you very much.